in London, Paris, Tokyo, and New York City. A few of the world's most renowned and busiest cities. There's always a lot of hustle and bustle going on. The world has come a long way since the beginning of the 1800s. This is the result of globalization. Thomas L. Friedman, an internationally renowned author, reporter, and columnist, recipient of 3 Pulitzer Prizes, and author of 5 best-selling books including The World is Flat, defines globalization as the interweaving of markets, technology, and information systems and telecommunication systems in a way that is shrinking the world from a size medium to a size small, and enabling each of us to reach around the world farther, faster, deeper, and cheaper than ever before. Although people work farther from home than before, the Industrial Revolution made traveling long distances easier and more affordable than ever before. This was possible because of the invention of steam-powered engines, powering factories in the 1780s, and its use in cars, trains, and ships beginning in the 1800s. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, these unique and amazing inventions transformed into common day-to-day objects that are cost-efficient and mass-produced. They also led to the invention of planes, giving people even more ways to commute. The first non-stop transatlantic flight was in 1919 and traveled the 1,900 miles from St. John's, Newfoundland to Clifton, Ireland, and did so in 16 hours and 12 minutes.
From Newfoundland, their Vickers Vimy took off 1,900 miles of Atlantic between them and Ireland. Nose in the buggy ground, the airplane stood. 16 hours, 27 minutes later. The old converted bomber averaged 111 miles an hour. Today, New York-London, 1,500 miles further, only takes about 6 hours.
This video is from the 40th anniversary of this flight in 1959, when it only took about 6 hours to travel 1,500 miles farther. This shows how planes help globalization progress because it took a much shorter amount of time to get a lot farther, and it was easier and cheaper than before. Planes made people begin to think about space travel, and eventually came up with space shuttles. The first space shuttle, Columbia, was launched in 1981.
5, 4, we've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. America's first space shuttle. Columbia is now steering for
Space travel literally dimensionally flattened the world and allowed people to explore what was around us and to in turn learn more about the Earth. Finished in 1869, the building of the actual American Transcontinental Railroad was a great example of globalization. The railroads
were the arteries of America. There's something just really moving about that kind of image of the country finally uniting itself.
2/3 of the railroad workforce was Chinese, The Chinese did all the most dangerous work. Also, many of the workers were Irish. While helping the American economy and being economically efficient, the Transcontinental Railroad enabled businesses to spread and more cities to be established, united the country, allowed for other businesses to flourish and spread, and made it easier to get from point A to point B inexpensively. During the time of imperialism, people and subsequently nations felt more self-empowered, so they wanted to expand their country's power and reign. There were 4 ways that the nations would rule the land they got. The first was colonization, in which the territory was internally governed by another country. An example of this was Somaliland in East Africa, which was a French colony, and the French had complete control over it. The next type of ruling was the sphere of influence. For example, Liberia was under the United States sphere of influence. In this case, the U.S. claimed exclusive investment or trading privileges. The third way to rule a conquered territory was how Britain did the Niger River Delta, by establishing a protectorate. When a protectorate is established, the territory has its own internal government but is under the control of the outside power. The fourth and final way was economic imperialism, in which an independent, less developed country was ruled by a private business. For example, the Dole Food Company controlled pineapple trade in Hawaii. These all contributed to the progression of globalization because they established relationships and connections between 2 countries and established militant and/or economic interdependence. This helped continue globalization also because countries were able to establish rule and reign over another, even across seas. Although World War I split up the world because of the fighting, the world's nations were also brought together because many alliances were formed in order to succeed and continue in fighting the war. Like in World War I, the divisions that were brought about by World War II also brought others closer together. During World War II, the Allied forces were all working together for a common goal. to defeat and stop the Nazis. During World War II, Britain and the United States, two of the Allied powers, went to North Africa for the sole reason of fighting the Nazis. An example of the presence of globalization during World War II is D-Day, June 6, 1944, the day the Allied forces entered France and fought the Nazis, beginning the end of the war. The United States and Canada supplied a lot of militant equipment for the invasion, which took 4 years of planning and a ton of international cooperation, communication, and technologies. Fleets of over 4,000 ships and over 11,000 planes led the way. On August 6, 1945, in an attempt to end the war, the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs in Japan, one in Hiroshima and one in Nagasaki. The dropping of the atomic bombs in Japan show how much technology has developed. But the United States was able to completely wipe out and destroy 2 cities halfway around the world, dropping them from the air and not getting hurt. There were still many international tensions after World War II, which eventually led to the Cold War. The Cold War forced continued international alliances. During the Cold War, Berlin was occupied and divided by 4 nations: Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and the United States. The Soviets made their half communist and didn't allow any immigration. To enforce an anti-immigration law, the Soviet Union built a wall along their borders in 1961. This wall was known as the Berlin Wall, and it separated the Soviet portion of Germany from the rest of it and from other countries. The United Nations was established in 1945 in San Francisco to keep peace among the world's nations, improve the world economy, and to stop genocide. All countries but France joined. On November 9, 1989, the Berlin Wall was torn down. On June 12, 1987, President Ronald Reagan went to Berlin and said,
"We welcome change and openness, for we believe that freedom and security go together, that the advance of human liberty can only strengthen the cause of world peace. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable, that would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate." Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
In today's world, anyone, anywhere, at any time can be reached through a plethora of options. These include, but are not limited to, a text, a phone call, or an instant message. Also, one can let all of their friends know where they are and what they're thinking at once using Twitter. One can leave a message or video for another on Facebook or MySpace, and 2 people could be on opposite sides of the earth and still talk face-to-face when video chatting. The internet has opened and brought about so many opportunities for so many people around the world. Even President Obama recognizes this in saying,
"Technology has changed the way we live and the way the world does business. The collapse of the Soviet Union, the advance of capitalism, have vanquished old challenges to America's global leadership, but new challenges have emerged from China and India and Eastern Europe, even countries like Brazil. Jobs and industries can move to any country with an internet connection and willing workers.
Traveling on planes and trains is very common, fast, cheap, and easy, and the same goes for ships. And in addition to all of that, ships are now used for leisure as well.